We're here on Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard in Portland, Oregon. What's your name?
My name's Casey.
Casey. We just met Casey and we were having a really interesting conversation, and I've been talking a lot about the walls that divide us, you know, all these little bubbles that we're in, and you had some really interesting, you know, thoughts on that. Here in our town we have something called hipsters.
Yes.
They look really cool, you know, like we're really in the scene, and you know, you really feel sometimes in Portland that you're actually very disconnected, you know, from people around you. I mean, this is like an active city, right?
Yeah.
I suppose the old thinking, but we got a lot of stuff that still really divides us based on like how we look, how we talk.
Well, we have subcultures that actually like parody subcultures that in the past actually reflected a want towards social change and you know, rebellion, angst. All these types of things seem like they've been relegated to, you know, the bargain bins at your local thrift store, and it just seems like it's become more of like a fashion than an ideology. And I just think that as soon as we start recognizing each other as, like, you know, human beings, first, primarily, stop seeing in the ways that we're different and how we're actually the same, and stop, you know, worrying about like how many bullet belts you have on around your waist, or you know, how messy your haircut looks like when you wake up, and actually like look at the news and figure out what's going on.
I wonder where this comes from, because, you know, you look at the divide there, it is sometimes very much based on like appearance and lifestyle, the music you listen to, even like how you talk, and like what your values are. And like I think of like the human species sometimes as being, to a certain degree, like herd animals. Like it's hard sometimes for people to like walk alone, you know, be themselves.
Exactly.
And not
you want to
conform.
identify.
So you're not alone, yeah.
Yeah. But when you lose the actual, well, I mean, it just seems like however long it takes, but it's a matter of time before whatever you do, or whatever like the origin of that actual culture was, it becomes a parody of itself. And right now we have nothing but parodies. We have culture, subculture after subculture after subculture that just parodies like the original culture itself. And
I think we learned a lot of that stuff in school. I mean, I know in school we learned a lot about competition, you know, and you saw a lot of different divides. You know, you get the jocks over here, the nerds over here. You already had early programming on fitting only into certain circles, and I think it still continues even into our adulthood.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of neurolinguistic programming like being used in our media, like everywhere, through music, we even reiterate them ourselves. We're trained to actually reiterate these messages constantly to people. And after doing a lot of thinking about it, I realized that you get to an age when you're about 12, 13, where you start, you know, going through puberty, and you know, it starts becoming well, it's just not acceptable to be creative, imaginative, to be yourself. That whole childlike innocence of just being who you are and discovering things for the first time, and like that developing who you are starts to end around 12, 13. And I think that has a lot to do with the school systems. And at the same time, during that time period, you can't help but like look for somebody else to identify in. And then that usually seems to be someone around like 18, 19 years old. I know that happened to me personally, is, you know, like getting into skateboarding at 13, like, oh, that guy skateboards, he's cool. Or like, oh, you know, he spray paints, he tags, oh, that's cool, whatever, you know, all that type of stuff. And then by the time you're like 15, 16, you forget the whole reason that you're dressing, you know, like a punk rocker or a preppy or whatever, is just because, you know, one image of some person that you saw do something or say something that you identified in. And then at what point do at some point you have to start developing your own ideas, your own intellect,
right?
I mean, your own philosophies, your own style. Like, I mean,
becoming an adult, right?
Yeah, you have to
becoming a man.
Yeah. But I think right now, I mean, we have a whole generation of people that are not trying to be adults, but they're still trying to like fit in. They're still trying to be part of this cultural, whatever it is. I don't know what's appealing.
We don't seem to like have a healthy rite of passage. Yeah, I don't feel, you know, as a man, like we have a normal, healthy rite of passage to where, you know, you're really grown up now. It's very relative.
Yes.
It changes year to year, and so, you know, different inputs come and go. Here's another thing, you look at music, look how much our generation's been swayed by what the cool music is, or what the cool attire is. I mean, it's so transitory. It's constantly changing. I mean, if it's constantly changing, the way I look at it is, why be attached to any of it? If it's so confusing and mind-boggling, sometimes it's better just to step back and not get involved in it.
Well, I think it's really interesting, like when you bring up music and identifying in the music, I think it's really strange. Well, I mean, as a society, when we're trying to look and to fit in with everybody, and then you have an individual, we find that as being threatening to us. I mean, that's just the way mankind has always been. You know, you're different. You're you know, somehow threatening me. But as far as music goes, we're much more likely to look for to identify, like, in certain lyrics or songs, saying things that, like, I guess, well, for me, my personal interests are, you know, anti-authoritarian, trying to find out about the truth about the government and, you know, world politics as much as possible. But people in your age group, or that are involved in these certain imaginary, you know, media social stereotypes, will not listen to you strictly because they feel that they've heard it before, or that, you know, they went through it, or they protested.
You're not a person in authority.
Yeah, you're not a person. You're not on the TV.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're telling someone pertinent information of what's actually going on, you're much more likely to believe or be believed if you were singing it in an angry, angsty song, or if you were another talking head on the TV. But if you're a person just talking to, you know, like me and you talking, like discussing, I mean, people are just going to be like, oh, this guy's crazy. But if I was on the television and, you know, I was in a little, you know, box with, like, you know,
right, exactly,
little
you know,
memes going through underneath me, you know, then I believe you.
For example, if our camera person here had a fancy camera, and, you know, we had a fancy microphone, and you were wearing a suit and tie, and you had that corporate look,
exactly,
you know, big deal. There's the news.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing the spot. We're doing here, you know, having a brief conversation. We're gonna show this on YouTube, and it's like, what are they doing? We're just like, have a video camera on there. You're talking about something real, and it kind of makes them feel uneasy, like what's going on over there. And people will sometimes be more alarmed by a private citizen with a camera than they are the police spying on them, or the dome-style cameras in the grocery stores. See, that's no big deal. Yeah. It's almost like you know, like Orwell, 2 + 2 = 4, or up is down,
war
down
is
up.
peace. Yeah, exactly. I recently found out that you're actually not allowed to record police officers unless you notify them, because it's illegal to record someone's voice.
Did you hear about what happened downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a friend of that guy.
Oh,
Mike.
yeah.
Yeah, Joe Anybody is joeanybody.com. He had a video that ended up on Infowars.com.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
I actually had an incident down at Pioneer, in front of Pioneer Place the other day. I was doing my paintings, and within 3 minutes of TriMet, a supervisor came up to me and told me that they'd had several complaints. This was within like 3 minutes of me painting, so I don't really think that it was possible for that to happen.
Let's show him your paintings.
It was
real
actually
quick. This is how we met him
this
today.
painting. That one right there.
This is his artwork, and this is where the conversation began. What's going on with our solar system? That's, I think, sometimes what this is really all about. You know, what do you think is going to happen in the future? We're talking in terms of, you know, the divides going on, the tension in the streets, and, you know, the economy crashing, all these things happening. Where do you view these social divides? Healing, or becoming a little bit worse before that healing process actually takes place?
I think until the truth is blatantly, I think until the actions of the government blatantly speak for themselves when they really make their move, I don't think that the American people are going to recognize what's going on until it's right in their face and it's too late. I think when you wake up one day and you turn on television and, you know, you go to CNN and it's going to be like, America was sold to, you know, the oil companies today, you know. I mean, they already
America's being set up for a fall right now.
Yeah, I do. I believe that right now all the things that they're doing, like making the dollar unconstitutional for blind people, that seems like another excuse to implement, you know, their Amero. The entire collapse of you know, our economic structure right now. Basically making the dollar worthless, I think, is just a ploy to set up well, the North American Union. I think it's just a precursor to the North American Union. I think, well, they've obviously had these plans going since about 2005, probably much further than that, actually.
So it's really just a matter of time.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time.
Well, I'm Alex Ansary. You're watching the special edition of Outside the Box. Remember to check out oraclebroadcasting.com for my show Monday through Friday from 1 to 3. This is just one of many other walls that need to be smashed in these critical times we're in.